Welcome to the development of a new progressive learning environment explored by the Interface Studio over a period of 8 weeks. Our outlook has morphed and grown, and here is a look at our journey. Our team's diverse viewpoints and knowledge backgrounds help to co-create a strong and extensive project. We want to pull you into our world and guide you through our unique experiences, sharing the insights we've developed to persuade you to consider our strategies. The very things we are investigating are being demonstrated through lived experience. This especially pertains to co-creation, interaction, and art, with constant opportunity for cultural and knowledge exchange. So what is the purpose of this project? The current paradigm of static art curatorial practice has resulted in limited engagement and understanding of art among diverse audiences. This stagnation hinders the potential for art to foster meaningful connections and dialogues within communities. The aim of this project is to challenge the status quo of art curatorial practices. Through human-centered methodologies and proposing strategies, we aim to cultivate the engagement and understanding of art through the key pillars of accessibility, education, and public engagement. The goal is to enable diverse audiences to engage deeply with art, fostering understanding, learning, and cultural exchange within communities. Rather than using a rigid and traditional linear process, our methodologies form a circular feedback loop. We start by studying current theoretical discourse relating to art, education, and spatial design in order to create a framework by which to compare our strategies throughout. We make use of qualitative data collection in our mapping through observation of people's behaviors and interpretation of spatial landscapes. Many activities enabled us to critically reflect on our findings and synthesize our approach. This synthesis then results in the development and testing of various strategies for identified challenges. So let's get into the theoretical underpinnings of our project. This includes definitions, theoretical discourse, and a model for the categorization of curatorial practices. When presented with the term interface, what thoughts come to mind? What does it mean to you?
By definition, it is a point where two systems, subjects, or organizations meet and interact. But how does one determine where these interactions take place? The implementation of various interventions act as enablers for the development of a connected spatial landscape where people and the design environment can engage in a complex but beneficial relationship which focuses immensely on the user's experience and participation. Some other important terminology included in our presentation include epistemic diversity, which is the presence of different perspectives, knowledge, and beliefs. Reverse curation, which involves actively engaging the audience in the curatorial process, allowing for diverse perspectives and increased participation. Educuration, which promotes equal collaboration between art, educators, and curatorial staff. Discursive design expands the boundaries of how we can use design and invites us to see objects in a new light to understand more than their basic form and utility. Top-down approach, where the curatorial team dictates how the exhibition plays out. And bottom-up approach, where viewers become participators in the curation and the exhibition. We have based our intentions on various theoretical perspectives that we have integrated into our approach. Looking firstly at Tharp Tharp's mindsets, these help us to question what is being communicated, why, and how. The aims discussed in the reading inform why we have approached our messaging the way that we have. Any aim can support or be supported by any of the mindsets. These aims include the intention to remind, inform, provoke, persuade, and inspire. To properly apply the theory, we need to determine why we are using the specific framework and how or where it will be used. Tharp Tharp's aims inform how designers approach meaning-making. The mindsets guide in how to spatially reinforce those aims in our small group strategies. Gwinter explores the concept of urban interfaces, which can be considered as an environmental system composed of bodies, objects, and spaces. It becomes relevant to understand the relationship between the three when mapping and analyzing precedents. Spradley's 9 dimensions further expands on Gwinter's 3 components. In addition to space, actor, and object, Spradley analyzes activity, acts, events, time, goals, and feelings, forming 9 dimensions. Both Gwinter's theory and Spradley's 9 dimensions contribute to meaning making and evaluating successful interventions in the extant condition and suggested scenarios. Upon identifying our problem statement and project aim, we create a framework which classifies art interfaces into 3 distinct phases as an ABC model. A represents the status quo of traditional static curatorial practices. B signals a change in the narrative to include the audience as participator. And C, which is what we believe to be the ideal trajectory, consists of further possible strategies to blend the previously separate interfaces. The Apartheid Museum can be used as a precedent to demonstrate the top-down status quo. The look, don't touch principle is very evident in many galleries and art museums, with there often even being physical barriers to protect the artworks. The Apartheid Museum uses traditional exhibition practices with limited to no participation in the curation processes by the audience. The exhibition experience is, however, interactive and accessible. Now we move on to our qualitative data collection and analysis. This includes macro mapping of the Pretorian urban art fabric as well as macro mapping of Javid UP. We will define our intention and analyze certain nodes. The aim for mapping urban nodes is to gain an understanding of the extant art landscape in the city. This includes categorizing nodes into our ABC framework, identifying acupuncture points for activation, and analyzing successful and unsuccessful strategies or characteristics of each. We map the immediate urban context around Javid UP and various nodes situated within a 5-kilometer radius. In our analysis, we plot population density against public access. The top right corner, where high density intersects with excellent access, is crucial for optimal interface exposure when selecting acupuncture nodes to activate.
We examined 3 main typologies: educational nodes, art nodes, and public spaces. The purpose of mapping educational spaces was to analyze nearby educational institutions, identify similarities, and develop general strategies that could be replicated in other settings. Schools and colleges have similar spatial characteristics: fences, narrow sidewalks, high traffic at opening and closing times, and low traffic otherwise. University students are either in transit between classes or sitting in pause spaces on breaks. This means that interventions on the floor plane will be most optimal for circulation spaces, and interactive reflective exhibitions would work best in spaces where students have time to pause and engage. Some notable educational nodes which brought us to these conclusions include tertiary educational institutions, high schools, primary schools, and a community library. Our visits to these locations informed our understanding of how these spaces are actually used. The sites offer various opportunities for different interactions and interfaces. The educational nodes can be synthesized into academic support resources and recreational community engagement spaces. Universities, high schools, and primary schools all fall under academic spaces with information required from a highly respected person. Libraries and administrative nodes are spaces of support and resource, with open and outdoor nodes being recreational and community spaces. The aim for a generalized strategy which is replicable across the societal spectrum of educational institutions can be implemented on these 3 nodes. Art should be accessible to the everyday person. The aim of mapping of the art nodes was to find opportunities for and of examples of knowledge and cultural exchange interfaces. In the art gallery and museum nodes, we compared institutions with traditional approaches like Pretoria Art Museum to unconventional hands-on or collaborative practices like Botaki Africa and Javet UP. At the art store nodes, we considered factors such as population density, products on sale, advertisement opportunities, and cultural exchange. In the public art node, we compared decorative and functional installations and their degree of interactivity. Examples such as the Think Bench at the University of Pretoria as well as graffiti walls in the area were mapped. Botaki Africa is a creative space
where anybody and everybody is welcome. It is less populated in general, but attracts a more specific audience when they organize events such as informal poetry nights, where people of all walks of life collaborate. According to Tharp Tharp, Botakiba Africa would aim to inspire their audience in creating a platform to be creative. The R&B Think Bench is located on UP's Hatfield campus. It is usually quite populated as students use the bench as a resting space between classes. The artwork is therefore decorative, it strives to inspire, but ultimately is a functional object creating a gathering space. The users or bodies become part of the artwork. The Hazel Food, Art, Craft and Culture Market in Linwood brings a vast variety of people together to enjoy and buy craft products and food. This leads to an engaging communal gathering and interface for cultural exchange. Art galleries were analysed according to the curatorial practice. They become educational interfaces with the intention to inspire and inform. Art and art supply stores, especially those in close proximity to Javet UP, are higher density spaces that can provide opportunities for public exposure. Public art installations are mostly decorative and can start to become more interactive, which in turn may provide opportunities for public engagement. In mapping public spaces, the aim is to find opportunities to propose strategies which enhance the public's involvement with Javet UP. These opportunities should be both accessible and affordable. We examined 3 node categories: plazas, parks, and bus stops, focusing on key elements, namely the experience of and reaction to the space. Here you will see an example of each. Loftus Park Shopping Centre enhances user experiences with its design, varied retail and dining choices, community events, and digital engagement efforts. As a public space, it's fairly populated during business hours, encouraging social interactions. Magnolia Dale Park provides diverse recreational facilities in a serene setting. While accessible to all, it's less crowded during operating hours compared to Loftus Park. Inclusivity fosters a sense of belonging, and the park's natural surroundings contribute to a user's mental well-being. The Javet UP bus stop is crucial for public interactions, mainly during rush hours. Serving as a shelter with learning posts, it enhances the waiting experience and encourages social interactions among commuters. Additionally, it offers opportunities for community engagement initiatives. The address nodes, which each play unique roles in urban life. Plazas foster community engagement through dining, retail, and events. Parks offer tranquil, recreational, while pause spaces and transit spaces provide opportunities to create meaningful inter- and intrapersonal interactions. Overall, these spaces can enrich urban living through social interactions and connectivity.
In mapping of the Javid UP, we will look at their philosophies and analyze our experience of the building and institution. The Javid UP is a collaboration between the University of Pretoria and the Javid Foundation, bridging academia and the community. It is described as a bridge linking the town and the gown. It aims to provoke new thinking, challenge assumptions, and redefine the role of art centered in society. According to our ABC framework, the Javid UP is currently in Phase B. Despite its vision for a dynamic and exclusive curatorial approach, this goal hasn't yet been achieved. There's a noticeable gap between curators, artists, and visitors, which will further be explored in terms of accessibility, education, and public engagement. The Javid UP is connected to the Hatfield campus through the bridge over Linwood Road. The iconic sunscreen panels on the bridge, inspired by the tertiary cloth fabric which symbolizes the crossover between Petty Indian English and Afrikaans cultural heritage, act as a cooling solar filter and act as a reminder of our common heritage. The concrete structure next to the road also takes influence from Mapungubwe Mountain and relates to the idea of putting the gold back into the mountain. The next step we undertook in analyzing the Javid UP was mapping the building and user experience. This allows us to understand some of the physical limitations of the building. The recent exhibition at this gallery was ARA. While there are tables and chairs with books and educational magazines, certain aspects of the ARA exhibition are inaccessible due to a physical barrier between the audience and the exhibits. The writing on the wall is illegible to the audience, resulting in a disconnect between them and the exhibition. Moreover, there's a lack of clear navigation around the exhibition space. The de-installation process is something that JavaDB does not keep hidden, which allows the audience to be immersed in an experience that is usually hidden. This becomes an opportunity for knowledge exchange between the curatorial team and the audience. According to Gwinter's spatial script for a relational field, the de-installation process can be placed under spaces of uncertainty, since that during the process is undetermined and completely destructured to allow for new exhibitions. We also notice some downsides and drawbacks posed by architectural decisions. This includes spatial constraints such as the narrow South 32 mezzanine gallery, which limits exhibition possibilities. The first floor gallery hosts the frequencies exhibition, encouraging interaction with the canvases, but unclear instructions hinder the engagement. Overcoming the traditional look and no touch mentality will require clearer prompts. The brochure we created is intended for potential artists to visualize all the necessary information to be able to curate an exhibit in the given space at the JavaUP. What makes JavaUP unique to its surrounding art institutions, and what characteristics can they consider incorporating? Who is this unique experience aimed at? The 2016 census data for Tshwane provides valuable demographic insights, including median age, gender distribution, employment rates, education levels, and household finances. These factors must be considered in our analysis to tailor interventions effectively for the public. Through archetypal analysis, we've identified specific visitor groups. These groups were mentioned by the WUP curatorial team as current and targeted audiences. We examined their availability. We found that the JavaUP's operating hours mainly catered to certain archetypes, inadvertently excluding others. To diversify and increase visitors, one strategy proposal could be to adjust the operating hours to later periods in the day. This could make JavaUP more inclusive, accommodating diverse schedules and preferences, enhancing accessibility, and enriching the visitor experience. We synthesized the archetypes into specific personas using a chart that illustrates stereotypical user behavior. This process allowed us to understand the diverse range of individuals who can engage the JavaUP. By tailoring strategies to these personas, we aim to enhance the visitor experience and drive increased footfall and diversity at the venue. This diagram shows the fence condition at the JavaUP premises. Movement inside the fence is minimal due to the harsh boundary. Students enter over the bridge from the University of Pretoria side, and pedestrians can enter through the main gate, or the mostly closed pedestrian gate at the bus stop. The general public using private transport can enter through the main gate and park either in front of the JavaUP or in the basement parking underneath. The current general movement around JavaUP shows pedestrians on the sidewalks do not have any way of entering the premises except through the main parking gate. Public and private transport modes are abundant on Noble Road, passing in front of the JavaUP. The activity nearby holds a lot of opportunity for engagement, but the harsh fence condition disconnects the JavaUP from the vibrant and diverse community surrounding it. It is important to explore JavaUP at a macro scale and to recognize its relation to its open environment. From an external perspective, does the fencing condition prohibit inclusivity? And how does this relate to the notion of safety?
All of these questions and considerations led us to critically reflect. This included arts-based exercises and discussion sessions with the JavaUP curatorial team. We were provided a unique opportunity to curate our own exhibition within the JavaUP classroom, where we wrote poetry that reflected our individual feelings on our initial unguided experiences. We found similarities in our views and connected each poem to others with similar insights. These similarities included a disconnect between the art exhibited and the user experience, noticing a shift towards engagement but not feeling inclined to participate, and confusion felt due to the bare walls and empty galleries. Our curatorial exercise allows for visitors to add to and expand on the exhibition by connecting their own reflective poems. Although we intentionally left space for this, we could have improved our exercise by leaving pens and paper and a short prompt. We also participated in an arts-based interpretative workshop as an attempt to interact with an artwork, Glimpses from the 50s and 60s. We positioned the curation as part of Phase A due to the lack of interaction. The reflective workshop can be classified as part of Phase B. However, although it was a great exercise where we collaborated to make meaning from the art, we did not allow for future engagement with the art or our reflections, as we would like to see happening in Phase C. During our collaboration sessions with Javid UP's curatorial team, we discussed our findings as well as their reflections on the success of certain strategies they have tried. Here you will see a glimpse of us trying to make sense and meaning from that information in a complex conversation mapping exercise, where several important themes became prevalent as well as various links between all the observations. We then synthesized the information into these categories. Accessibility issues were highlighted in both a physical and intellectual regard. There's a general lack of seating and very little accommodations for disabilities. Additionally, epistemic diversity becomes a big factor in making the arts accessible to people of different ages, education levels, art knowledge, and learning styles. The public hasn't had the best response to Javid UP's pivotal shift due to confusion and being uninformed. Javid UP is also having a hard time attracting certain student groups. There is a disparity between our bottom-up perception of reverse curation and Javid UP's work in progress strategy. Because of the open-ended nature of the new curatorial direction, often pedagogical tailor-made tours are required for large groups. This led to discussions about several possible solutions or suggestions for each specific problem identified, which we will analyze and interrogate in each focus area in Phase C.
This makes you wonder, what comes next? The next part of our plan is to progressively push the boundaries of the current limitations in order to move from Phase B to C. This brings us to ideation, or in other words, developing and testing strategies to support the desired shift. The focus areas for these strategies are reverse or edu-curation, which targets co-creative processes, accessibility, which aims to bridge the gap between art and audience, and public engagement, which aims to expand art curation into the urban fabric.